What I think here, okay, the main takeaway of this video in terms of Bitcoin's price action, if we get rejected again, and if we come down to 56 again, 55.8 specifically, but if we come down in that area again, that could very well be a trigger that actually plummets us to another next target. And that next target is all the way around 50,000 US dollars. So, but if we don't hold here, it's likely, I think, that we could come down to that $50,000 level. You see breaking out of this 1 month rising wedge. But again, we cannot rule out the 50-day moving average at 50,000 US dollars, which is the breakdown target if this does break down. And this is big. Remember, we talked about this trajectory for the last few days here, going all the way down to potentially at least 50,000 US dollars. This will be the big test. Are we going to be plummeting down to that $50,000 level? And if so, will the 50-day moving average at $50,000 be enough? Or will we go to that $47,000/$48,000 level, which is also a very big level of accumulated volume on the VPVR? In fact, the point of control. As we've been discussing consistently for the past week, Bitcoin continues to go down to our exact targets along the way. But the question is this the ultimate bottom we've been waiting for? Or is there someone hiding underneath our beds just waiting to grab us by the toes? And the DXY is now within our maximum resistance zone. What happens next may leave you begging for a wet willy. Okay, now this is pretty big. Welcome back, everyone! I'm your host, Timmy TNA, and on this channel we give you the best tea, we give you the best A, and we also give you the best human milk. Holy cannoli, we have a lot to be jumping into in today's webisode, guys, as for the past week we've been consistently saying about this 50k target, and boy oh boy, people have been disagreeing all the way, yet here we are. But now the big question is this it? Have there been any signals that in fact this is the bottom? Or is this just one more step down the long set of stairs to a correction? So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications if you're an absolute savage and you want to take part in one of the biggest experiments in human history. And without any further ado, let's jump in! So this is pretty big. So if we start off here with just the entire cryptocurrency market cap, now sitting right at about $1.5 trillion here, and we're now at the 50-day moving average for the entire crypto market cap for the first time since, I mean, we got to go back pretty darn far to take a look at this. Since October of 2020. So for the first time in over 5 months, now we're at this critical level of support. So guys, this is actually pretty big. And this dump overall hasn't been massive over the past few weeks, right? It's only been like not even a 20% drop just yet. But it is the first time that we've come back to test some of these key moving averages so quickly after already having a pullback. And what I mean by that is, right, we've been essentially bouncing very strongly every time we get a little bit of a pullback and setting new all-time highs by a lot. Okay, for example, back here in January, you know, we hit $1 trillion market cap down to like 830 trillion. And then after that, mega bounce up to like almost 1.8 trillion. And now what we see here is that we just had this pretty big mega bounce here. And then we get this pullback here, but this second bounce is not in fact a mega bounce at all. In fact, I would call this a mini bounce, a mini baby bounce. So if this was a mega bounce, this is definitely a mini bounce. And what does that mean? Well, for one, it's showing a slowdown in momentum. Absolutely. And as well, the fact that we've spent so much time over the past 2 months right on top of this 21-day moving average, whereas before we were not spending much time around it. We were significantly above it. And every time we did get close to it, again, there were mega bounces. So this time it's different for that reason. And the fact that after this bounce, we only increased by, what is this? You know, a couple $1 billion after this bounce. Honestly, we said about 1.76 trillion. And then this bounce only brought us to like 1.86 trillion. So a lot of people were expecting that we have this pullback and then we initiate a pretty big bounce afterwards, you know, potentially, definitely at least covering $2 trillion, but that is not what happened. In fact, the opposite. We see the momentum slowing down a bit. And now that brings us to where we're at right now on this 50-day moving average for the entire crypto market cap. Same story here for the entire altcoin market cap. Basically looks the same here, even a little bit weaker. It even only one day did it set a new all-time high, whereas the entire crypto cap, you can see for at least a week we were above these previous all-time highs we set in February. But for the entire altcoin cap, only a single day, and that single day was March 20th, 5 days ago. Every day other than that, we did not set like new all-time highs here. So altcoins even looking a little bit weaker compared to Bitcoin. And before we get into Bitcoin, because there's just a lot to be covering, look at the DXY. This is something we've been talking about for a while now, and this is really big. I mean, this is kind of the key to the puzzle. And if we look on this weekly chart, after getting 3 successful weeks above the 21 week, it had enough juice to give it a nice bounce. But as you can see, guys, we're in a very, very critical level now. If we go back all the way to January 2015, I mean, this goes back pretty far. It even goes back further than that, but let's just keep it to like the last 6 years, because this tells a story. I mean, this tells us more than we need to know anyway. This is a very big level of resistance, and it was previous support, but it's a very muddy zone. It's kind of right around this $93 level. It's absolutely very big. And so this will be the big test, because things will really get fishy if we're able to break above 93.80 roughly, and let's just even round up to like 94 over the next few weeks. If the DXY would actually come up to those levels and then not correct and not get a massive push below here, then I think everybody's narrative for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency over the next few months is going to be vastly different than what everyone was expecting the narrative would be. Meaning, this will have a huge impact on Bitcoin if we actually get above like 93.8 to 94 here on the DXY, which is, as of right now, it's still over $1 where we currently are, but you can see it's kind of fast approaching over the last few weeks. And remember, I got a lot of comments yesterday like, why would the DXY be pumping? I mean, you're absolutely correct. There's not really any fundamental reason why. Give a man some milk, he can drink for a day, but if you teach a man to milk, he can milk himself for a lifetime. So if we go to this weekly chart here, this is it, guys. I mean, 6 weeks now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually 7 weeks now, going on almost 8 weeks now. This has just been a key consolidation zone. 60K has just been very hard to maintain, and if broken above, again, it's just been very quickly rejected. And as well, if we take a look, I mean, the reason that I've been bearish over the past few days, and now keep in mind, I'm bearish over the past few days. I've been saying Bitcoin's going to keep going down, and I don't like repeating myself when I have to say exactly what I'm about to say. I'm bullish on Bitcoin long term, but short term, I'm bearish. So I don't like clarifying that all the time, but even though I'm talking about Bitcoin going down, I still think Bitcoin's going to be 6 figures this year. But I'm just saying in the short term, Bitcoin's going to keep going down. And since I've been saying that, it keeps going down. So I'm going to keep saying that because I still believe that's exactly the case. Currently, we're even below some short-term fettuccine levels. We're below all of the short-term moving averages that I look for to see if we're getting any kind of reversal. Currently, again, where do you see us getting this little bounce right now? Right at this fettuccine level. Very important, but there's no signs at this moment that this is anything more than just a little bounce because it is a fettuccine level to be respected. So there's nothing to indicate yet that this is going to be a major bounce zone. I don't see that at all. We're below all of the key moving averages here, 1 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour. Again, you see exactly where we're getting this bounce. Same exact level on this 4 and 6 hour chart that we're seeing here. But yeah, we got this bearish cross, which we mentioned a few days ago, and we got rejected off of these moving averages. And sometimes the best things to look at are just multiple time frames with moving averages. You don't have to make it too complex. You don't have to always draw patterns. But yeah, this is a bearish pattern that we've been following for a while now, and this is a month-long pattern. And the breakdown target is significantly lower than where we currently are. So could we be visiting the $40,000 range over the next few days? That's absolutely a possibility. And that's something we discussed a little more yesterday. But yeah, that's just one of the main things here. But again, with all of that context in mind, if we go to this daily chart, we are bouncing right now on the 50-day moving average. And this is important. So just like on the entire cryptocurrency market here, we're bouncing on the 50-day. That's exactly what Bitcoin is doing as well on the 50-day. And the last time Bitcoin was there, that's where its bottom was. This is where Bitcoin bottomed back in January of 2021. And what happened after Bitcoin bottomed here? It went from under $30,000 to almost $60,000, where we've been fighting since, okay? Ever since we've gotten up here, we've just been fighting in this pattern here. And yeah, so the 50-day last time did mark the ultimate bottom. But I'm just not convinced at this point that that is going to be the case yet. It very well could be, but I still think that there is a chance we could go lower over the next week. And now, here's the thing too. Like when I say like I think it's very likely we'll go lower. Very often people will take that as an opportunity. For example, let's say tomorrow we come up to 54,000 US dollars. There will be unfortunately a fair amount of people saying, actually, no, this bounce is over, we're going to keep going higher. And then you fast forward 5 days and look at that, we're below 50,000 or something. That is a scenario that happens all the time, and people take the opportunity and they take advantage of the very short, small bounces or drops that Bitcoin has to say, no, in fact, you're wrong, this is over. But so far, that's not been the case. So even though I'm saying it's likely that we'll go below 50,000, that doesn't mean that it has to go below 40,000 within 3 hours of me uploading this video. It could take another week, right? It could take another couple days. It could take a little longer than that. All I'm saying is the trajectory of this pattern at this point is still down. It's still very much the downside. And I think a lot of people have been mentioning about me drawing this potential bull flag. Yes, I do see that. However, the pole here, if this is the pole, it's extremely small, and I don't believe that the poles can be the same length as the flags there. So, I mean, that's another thing to keep in mind here. Also, I mean, if we look on this chart, and especially, I mean, if we look on the weekly chart, look at this. We have some incredibly apparent bearish divergence. If we pull out the RSI here, each high was marked by a lower high on the RSI. Each price high was marked by a lower high on the RSI. And yeah, I mean, that's like 4-month-long bearish divergence. So I don't know, some of these bearish divergences haven't been playing out on the short time frames, but this is by far the biggest bearish divergence. And I personally wouldn't want to test it. I could still see this pattern going lower, and that's what I've been saying for a few days now, and I'm still sticking to that. And as long as the DXY, I mean, let's look at this on the daily chart. It's at a new high for the first time in the past 5 months as I'm recording this video. So as long as this thing is extremely strong here, and unless it gets rejected in this zone that I have marked off, then I wouldn't count on Bitcoin pumping to 60K plus right now. As long as the DXY remains strong, as long as Bitcoin is kind of teetering right on the 50-day moving average, there's absolutely zero reason to be bullish in the short term. I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, but not right now, okay? This has been a bear trend. I've been saying it for a while. People are getting mad about it, but it's very clearly a bear trend, and it's very clearly going to keep going down. And again, the reason I said what I said a few minutes ago about this, right? I just said it's going to keep going down, and you know there are going to be people in the comments that are going to say, oh, Bitcoin just jumped $2,000. You were wrong. You were wrong. And then we let the charts play out for another day, and next thing you know, they're lower, or like another 2 or 3 days or something like that. So again, just because we might have a short-term bounce, it doesn't mean anything. It's completely insignificant. Still, the long-term trend is down. And I mean, if you look at this chart back on March 13th, 12 days ago, 62,000. Now we're over $10,000 below that. Again, this dip hasn't been huge so far, but again, it's 18% down in the past almost 2 weeks. So that is still what I believe the trend is. Now, specific targets, again, 48,000 is a big one I'm looking for, maybe for an ultimate bottom. You saw that in the intro as well, kind of the VPVR level right there. It's also this next support level that I have on the daily chart. So yeah, that's the one target I'm looking for. Could we go lower? Absolutely. And that lowest target I think is going to be around 41 to 42, but it's still way too early to say that. So I'm not convinced. Again, we have to play it day by day. And that's just a target I'm looking for if things continue to get bearish. But like I said, it's still way too early to say that 41 to 42 is going to be a target. At this point, I do think it's reasonable to say we could hit 48 or 47,000. But again, if we would bounce concretely off of this 50-day moving average like we did back in January, then we could initiate a more bullish trend again. But I just don't think that that's very likely right now. And again, I just want to say this one more time. Let's say in a day from now we bounce up to 54, 55,000. That is not a bottom indicator. We would need to actually break above, at the very minimum, like 55,500 minimum, and maintain that for a day or two before we could say, okay, maybe that was the bottom. But yeah, so those are targets to look for. I think, if we don't even break above 55,500, there's nothing, literally nothing on these charts indicating that this is reversed into a more bullish trend. Oh, so if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and as well, if you're interested in trading, make sure to take advantage of these Bybit and Femex deposit bonuses below. And without any further ado, that's it for me. Bye-bye.